was the shield. Until Orange Man Bad.
When TDS spreads to City Hall, the people bleed.
Operation Orange Shield. In theaters now.
Chicago just became ground zero in America's immigration war. Border Commander Greg Bovino is continuing Operation Midway Blitz, and the political establishment's losing their minds. 3,000 arrests and counting. A federal judge ordered him to appear in court today on the daily. But something just happened to that court order. Meanwhile, violent mobs are attacking ICE agents. Governor Pritzker creating secret documentation panels to target federal officers. Mayor Johnson calling enforcement racist while redirecting funds from black mothers to migrant hotels. And now a Democrat congressional candidate facing federal charges for assaulting Border Patrol. And she's responding today. Our exclusive interview with whistleblower Mark Vargas exposes the shocking truth about Illinois officials actively sabotaging federal law. This is not just a resistance, it is an insurrection, and Bovino is not backing down. And while Chicago tears itself apart and our border defenders face daily attacks, your body's fighting its own war against aging and stress. That's why I trust C60 Evo, the Nobel Prize-winning molecule that's revolutionizing health. Just like Bovino's cleaning up Chicago streets, C60 cleans up the free radicals destroying your cells. Lab animals live 90% longer on this stuff. My brain fog vanished, joint pain I've had for decades gone. My wife looks 10 years younger. This molecule is 172 times more powerful than vitamin C. The scientist behind it, Chris Burris, he's been perfecting this in his Houston lab since '91. The Paris study proved it extends life. Now my family is living proof. Visit c60evo.com/NNN for exclusive savings, because when the world's falling apart, you need every advantage. c60evo.com/NNN. Transform your health today. Make sure you use code NNN at checkout for exclusive discounts for our viewers. Now, before we get into Mark Vargas's exclusive remarks that he sat down with me earlier today, this is a huge development. Massive FAFO, the feds charging Illinois Democrat congressional candidate Kat Abughazaleh, as she was federally indicted today for attacking and blocking a federal vehicle outside Broadview ICE. At one riot, she was pummeled to the ground by an ICE agent. There she goes. This is the indictment, count 3. The special June 2024 grand jury further charges. The allegations in paragraph 1, count 1 of the indictment are incorporated here on or about September 26, 2025 at Broadview in the Northern District of Illinois, Eastern District. Catherine Marie Abughazaleh, not going to try to say that name, defendant herein forcibly impeded, intimidated, interfered with an officer of the United States, namely Agent A, while engaged in or on account of the performance of his official duties. And she is about to find out. Here she is. She's a candidate. Yeah, would you vote for that? Yeah, real stupid. Well, now she's responding to the charges. Here she is.
And my name is Kat Abughazaleh. I'm running for Congress in the 9th District of Illinois, and the Department of Justice is charging 6 people, including myself, with federal crimes for exercising our First Amendment rights near ICE's Broadview Processing Center. This is a political prosecution and a gross attempt to silence dissent. a right protected under the First Amendment. This case is a major push by the Trump administration to criminalize protest and punish anyone who speaks out against them. That's why I'm going to fight these unjust charges. But
there's a difference between free speech and impeding official duties, honey. There's a big difference.
I need your help to do it. As I and others have exercised our First Amendment...
Let me guess, this is a fundraising pitch now?
...rights, ICE has hit, dragged, thrown, shot with pepper balls, and tear gassed hundreds of protesters. Simply because we had the gall to say that masked men...
No. You had the gall to impede a federal officer in the line of duty.
...coming into our communities, abducting our neighbors, and terrorizing us cannot be our new normal. And because Chicago doesn't back down from bullies in masks who tear gas our neighborhoods, this administration has resorted to weaponizing the federal justice system to scare us into silence. But we're not going to be silent. The Trump administration wants you to be afraid of speaking out against it, and it's
You should be very afraid about what's going to happen to you when you go to prison. Now, we're going to talk about what just happened in the Seventh Circuit. They've just struck down the insane leftist judge who required Border Commander Greg Bovino to appear daily in court after he rightfully repelled rioters with crowd control. Judge Sarah Ellis's order has now been overturned. Yeah, there's a big win because he's doing his job. And what is Bovino saying? He says, we are going harder now. Here is a segment from my interview with Mark Vargas earlier today. Mark Vargas is back with breaking coverage of this converging disaster. Mark, America is coming apart, and we have the border chief, Greg Bovino, appearing in federal court, facing harassment charges for removing violent criminals. Here's what he said to Fox News.
Immoral. So you're leading Operation Midway Blitz. Is this judge allowing you to continue to do your job up until 4 or 6 p.m. when you have to go sit with her? And what does that do to operations for you and your agents that you're leading?
First and foremost, those operations continue. They continue unabated. The temporary restraining order and the meetings with the judge and all the other accoutrements that comes with what her orders are that will have no effect on Operation Midway Blitz. The Border Patrol, ICE, and those allied law enforcement teams are legal, ethical, and moral, and we always have been. So we've never been in violation of any TRO, any law or regulation. We're going to go out there and we're going to accomplish the mission. We're closing in on 3,000 apprehensions as we speak. We're going to speed those apprehensions up, and now we're even going to go harder now, Harris. We go harder now, and I'm not worried about it at all.
He's not worried about it, but Brandon Johnson calling him a barbarian. Mark, who's the real criminal here?
Both Mayor Johnson and Governor Pritzker and the federal court system, this judge. I mean, who would have thought that in the United States of America that you'd have elected officials and a federal judge siding with illegals, lawbreakers? I mean, they're supposed to uphold the law, not support those that break the law. And we've seen a continued pattern. I mean, there's been no consequences for Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson to call on violence against federal ICE agents. Again, we've talked about this before, Gary. If you or I were to publicly call for violence against federal ICE agents or federal Secret Service agents or federal U.S. Marshals, we'd be locked up and thrown in jail in 0.03 seconds. But somehow Democratic politicians and can talk about this and nothing happens to them. It's the reason why we've seen an over 1,000% increase in assaults on federal ICE agents, because the rhetoric of these Democratic leaders is inciting violence.
Mark Vargas inciting violence, and we just saw one who was just indicted for violence. And now we're finding out that Governor Pritzker has a purge list, a documentation panel to target ICE agents. Mark Vargas weighing in. Post at the... Now let's take a look at Pritzker here. He just announced a commission to document ICE agents for future prosecutions. This is from your post at the Illinois Review. If you're not following them yet, guys, make sure you do. So here is his announcement.
Why collect videos, testimony, firsthand accounts of alleged abuses of federal agents?
Well, what we're seeing is that the protocols, the rules around being a federal agent, the laws are being contravened. They are attacking people on the ground, ICE, CBP. They're going after people just because they're brown or black. No one above them is holding them responsible. Greg Bovino, who is running the operation in Chicago, is not holding any of them accountable. So we're going to have to keep a record because these people need to be held accountable, and they will be when the Congress changes hands, when the presidency changes hands.
Why?
So, Mark, this is literally a purge list. What are they planning? Revenge?
More than a purge list, this is a hit list, and this endangers the lives of every federal agent who's there in Chicago to uphold the laws of the land. And what Pritzker is talking about is pretty simple. It's the weaponization of government using federal agencies and federal resources to target not just citizens, but to target federal agents for doing their job. This is exactly what they're accusing Donald Trump of doing, when in fact it's not President Trump who's just enforcing existing laws. It's the Democrats that are using the weaponization of government. This is a play right out of the Obama-Biden playbook. It's remarkable. It endangers the lives of everyday people and it endangers the lives of these ICE officers. But Gary, what's interesting is, what about going after the people that are assaulting ICE agents? What about going after the people that are throwing rocks and bricks and swinging baseball bats and willfully trying to harm federal agents? Where are the law enforcement in going after those people? They're okay. It's the federal agents who they're targeting.
Now, let's take a look at Pritzker here. He just announced, so they want to target ICE agents. But now we're finding out this just in. Attorney General Pam Bondi, let this serve as a reminder that if you commit violence against a law enforcement officer, you will face severe consequences. Quote tweeting the acting attorney, U.S. attorney, promises made, promises kept. President A.G. Bondi made clear we will find, arrest, and charge anyone who attacks our law enforcement.
Laguna Road, and then shortly after that is when we started seeing pepper balls being fired back towards the crowd. But the crowd was also picking up items, rocks, whatever I guess they can find on the ground, and starting to throw them back towards.
These vans from leaving this farm there.
Now, you remember that farm raid? They're reporting here that they arrested 10 defendants for engaging in violence at that location, engaging in violence against officers and property earlier this year. And the U.S. attorney in California announcing a whopping 97 people being charged with either assault or impeding federal agents in Los Angeles. We will continue to charge more as we obtain evidence.
And we will continue in response to recent immigration enforcement actions in Los Angeles. To date, we have charged 97 individuals either with assault or impeding of federal agents engaged in immigration enforcement operations, and we will continue to charge more as we obtain the evidence. Earlier this summer, federal agents engaged in law enforcement operations targeted at removing illegal immigrants who entered the United States unlawfully. In response, large protests began to form throughout the Los Angeles area. I want to be very clear. Every American has a right to peacefully protest. What is not constitutionally protected is a right to engage in violence or to impede federal agents by assaulting, doxing, or obstructing their operations.
FAFO. Just like what happened with Illinois congressional candidate Kat Abughazaleh. Whatever. Now, I think we have another one here. This is Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson calling illegal alien a racist term. Mark Vargas responding. Now let's talk about something equally as insane. The Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson made an absolutely insane comparison. Listen to what he said, comparing the legal term illegal alien to slavery.
Was to describe. We don't have illegal aliens. Yeah. I don't know if that's from some sort of sci-fi message that you would have had. Well, listen, the legal term for my people were slaves. You want me to use that term too? So look, let's just get the language right. We're talking about undocumented individuals that are human beings. The last thing that I'm going to do is accept the type of racist, nasty language to describe human beings. We don't.
So he's allowing 400 murders while calling law enforcement terms racist. Mark, has Chicago leadership completely lost touch with reality?
They've lost touch with reality, and it's another reason why Brandon Johnson's poll ratings were at just 6%. He's proving it. What's racist is pulling funding for black mothers in the south and west sides of Chicago and reallocating it towards free health care for illegal immigrants. That's why we see a high concentration of infant deaths in the south and west side. It's why Chicago has some of the highest infant mortality rates in the nation. These aren't white mothers. These aren't Hispanic mothers. These are black mothers, the very constituents that Brandon Johnson supposedly represents and protects. He's just abandoned them for illegal aliens and has reallocated billions of dollars in resources for free healthcare. They've lost touch with reality, and it's why, Gary, I think we're going to see Chicago flip red. Everyday residents are sick and tired of their Democratic politicians coddling lawbreakers, coddling illegal aliens, coddling illegal criminals, while at the same time, everyday residents are trapped in poverty and poor healthcare systems.
Now let's talk about something equally. The media glorifying lawless priorities sometimes splashes Bovino in court like a criminal while real felons walk free. Vargas responding to today's Chicago Sun-Times front page. Let's take a look at the Chicago Sun-Times. Their front page shows Bovino in court like a criminal while actual criminals run free. What message does this send to the people of Chicago and to law enforcement?
Well, that the city doesn't have your back if you're a law-abiding citizen, and that they've made a deliberate choice to protect lawbreakers. They've made a deliberate choice to embrace lawlessness, and it should scare every resident and visitor in Chicago, but not just in Illinois, but across the country, that elected officials whose number one priority is to protect the people, that they would side on lawlessness, and that our federal court system would side with lawlessness. We've reached a very dangerous time in America.
Let's take a look at the Chicago. Indeed. But it's also dangerous if you're going to be playing offense against ICE agents doing their job. Are they still doing the pretend Nazi thing? When he gets his SS tat, let me know. When Greg Bovino left court, he waved to the crowd, and they all freaked out. And oh my goodness, he's giving a Nazi salute.
Hitler.
Okay, so you tell me. Nazi salute? Oh, sure, if you pause it, yeah. But he's giving signals to his team on what to do.
Now, Greg, what in the Hail Hitler were those hand moves?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, of course, they will find a Hitler salute in anything that they want. Who'll never forget what happened with Elon Musk, right? Bovino crushing it in the face of leftist judge. Border Commander Greg Bovino announces he's only going to surge illegal aliens arrests in Chicago. They're allowing violent insurrectionists to swarm the courthouse, posing a direct threat to Bovino and his men. You just saw what happened outside that courthouse. Obama-appointed judge had the nerve to make Border Chief Greg Bovino appear in her courtroom today to explain his use of tear gas on a paid mob. The man has taken more weapons off the street in Chicago in a month than he did in 4 months in Los Angeles.
Here in Chicago, individual. That individual, as you said, was armed with a semi-automatic weapon. So that was 2 from a couple of days ago. Today, more of the same. Another semi-automatic weapon in the car of an individual that tried to box in a Border Patrol agent. Sean, we've seen more weapons here in Chicago in a month than we did in Los Angeles over a 4-month period. Definitely something going on here in Chicago.
That's insane when we think about it. More guns taken off the street in Chicago than in Los Angeles. Here we have the border czar 24 hours ago speaking with Laura Ingraham.
This judge issued a warning, and by the way, welcome, Tom. Good to see you. Issued a warning that if agents are using this dispersant, they better be able to back it up, and if they can't, they'll lose that. What exactly could have happened if Bovino and those agents hadn't dispersed that crowd as they did? You heard the threats. What could have happened, Tom?
Border Patrol agents could be hurt and they could be killed. Look, you know, first of all, it's a radical decision made by a radical judge. DOJ will appeal it, and we'll get beyond this. However, here's what should happen. The judge, Governor Pritzker, Mayor Johnson, put a Border Patrol uniform on for one shift. Come out there and stand there with the men and women of the Border Patrol and ICE and see how you're going to respond. Look, the Border Patrol agents are trained very well on use of force continuum. They don't go from 0 to 100. There's no use of force against peaceful protesters. But when they impede them, when they threaten them, when they assault them, when they trespass, use of force is used at the lowest level to make someone comply. To the highest level is needed if it's a death, an action of a death threat or serious bodily injury. So these agents are very well trained. Even back in 1984, when I went to the Border Patrol Academy, you're well trained in crowd control and riot control. These are the best trained men and women that come into riot control, crowd control. They're doing exactly as they were trained to do. So I would question the judge. You want what's happening? Put on that uniform, stand on that front line, and have stones thrown at you, and see if there's justification for these men and women to protect themselves.
First, they have to find a uniform that would fit J.B. Pritzker. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. You see, this is what happens when cities declare war on federal law. Pritzker's documentation panel isn't oversight. It's a hit list targeting ICE agents who dare enforce immigration law. Johnson stealing money from struggling black families to fund illegal alien health care while calling enforcement racist. That's not social justice. It's called betrayal. The Sun-Times plastering Bovino's photo like he's a criminal while actual felons roam free. Pure propaganda. But here's what they don't understand. Every time they attack our Border Patrol, every time they obstruct ICE, every time they choose illegals over citizens, they create 10 more Greg Bovinos. Patriots who've had enough. Law enforcement who won't bow to the mob rule. Americans who remember what sovereignty means. So here's my question for the comment section. Should federal agents arrest mayors who obstruct immigration enforcement? Yes or no? Drop your comment below and support real journalism. Check out our merch shop. It's linked in the description.